You might have missed Matthew Scott's voice from around the region near the end of last year. Well, at that time he was in Cambodia, learning about how Cambodia is being reshaped after its turbulent recent history. And his trip also included some teaching as a volunteer at a primary school that's just been set up in a remote village there. We welcome Matthew to the microphone today. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you, Julie. It's good to be here.
Matthew, why Cambodia?
Well, Julie, as you may recall, in about the 70s, there was a bit of trouble going on over in Cambodia under the regime of Pol Pot, and most of the population there was decimated, as with some of the infrastructure. So Rotary has been involved in many projects over there in Cambodia to bring the country back to the way it used to be and improve the living conditions for those people there.
So you worked in several schools in Cambodia?
We did, yes. We visited one in Shrevi Bolka. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. We visited an orphanage school. And also a brand new school which Rotary had finished building about a month or just a little bit more in the village of Bosala. And the school in Bosala, as I say, had only been there a month, and the students had only been there about a month too, so coming up with some lessons and trying to teach in that classroom was rewarding but a little bit difficult at times too.
Yes, indeed. How old were the students?
Well, with Cambodia's history, there were a lot of students who hadn't been to school that were about the age of, I would guess, 24, 25, in the class with our equivalent to grade prep, because those students had never experienced school before, so were only just beginning now. So there was quite mixed age groups in some of the classes.
Yes, which would have created quite a challenge in teaching them.
Yeah.
Apart from assisting at the schools, what other World of Difference projects did you become involved in there?
Well, some of the projects that we were involved in were making water filters in the Crest village. This involved some steel moulds that had been created, and we put oil on them as like a lather, so that when the concrete went in and the mould was all put together, that the concrete wouldn't stick to the mould, and a couple of days later when the concrete had dried, you would go back and take the mould off, and presto, you have a water filter there for allocation to a house in the village where they could put their dirty water from their water source into the filter that would go through a series of rocks and sand to become clean drinking water. So that was one of the first projects that we undertook. The second water project that we did was digging a well, also in the Crest village. That was hard work. I have to admit that on that one I think the girls that came along on the trip did a better job than what I did digging the well. And also some of the girls that came along from Rochester at the schools, I did the teaching, but they were involved in teaching the students how to brush their teeth and other dental hygiene activities. And also at the Bosala school, we set about putting together profiles on the students for sponsorship by, say, Australians or other people that want to sponsor a child in the school, and creating a profile on the student that would be sent to a future foster parent, I suppose you could say.
Yes. And the trip wasn't all work, though.
No, it wasn't all work. Some of the things that we did while we were there in Cambodia, where we visited the ancient Angkor Wat temples and the Ta Prohm temple, where Angelina Jolie filmed the movie Tomb Raider, so that was quite good to see those temples that had been taken over by the jungle and then pieced back together. We also went for an elephant ride around another temple there, which was quite a lot of fun. Not as scary as I thought it might be, but I wouldn't want to ride around on an elephant all day, every day. In Battambang, we also went on what they call the bamboo train, which was quite interesting. An old train that would go through the rice fields on a very crippled railway line. To describe it the best, we did derail once, but it was quite a ride. And there were several other things we did as well, like visiting the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh, riverboat cruise, trying the local food. Visiting a school for deaf and blind students was another thing that we did in Siem Reap that I found quite interesting. because of my involvement here at Vision Australia. But also coming back to the Pol Pot history, we visited the S21 torture facility and also the killing fields where the victims would be buried in mass graves.
Yes, and this was all part of the World of Difference program.
It was, yeah. So you go over there and learn a bit about the history of the country, as well as being able to discover ways in which you can help and also do a bit of helping while you were there.
Yes. So on a personal note, what do you think that the trip meant for you and for the other volunteers that you went with?
Well, Julie, I think the trip for me was all about learning about a different culture and also coming to appreciate the good life that we have here in Australia a little bit more. But also going into the schools and teaching was a massive highlight for me, and being able to work with these students who really do have such a thirst for learning was quite enjoyable. And also it gave me ideas for how I can improve the lives of the Cambodians from back home here in Australia through my own Rotary Club, and also through a series of money boxes which I've placed in businesses around Bendigo to raise funds that will go to that school that I mentioned in Bossala, which was the one that Rotary built just recently that we visited.
So if people want to get more information about the Rotary International World of Difference program, where do you suggest?
Well, I'd suggest making contact with Bronwyn Stevens, who is the chair of the World of Difference program in this Rotary District that we're in, Rotary 9800 District. And there's a website, wod.org.au, that's wod.org.au, short for World of Difference, or there's an email, info@wod.org.au.
So that's www.wod.org.au, or the email
at info@wod.org.au.
Well, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.